The HIV field, we already have felt that long before, because it's really like groups from all over the world, like on like different levels, preventive, really on all levels, kind of working together towards the same goal.
So we had a big panel discussion with scientists, with people from the community, and that was really a great experience. That also students working in our department
to make the cure happen for everyone without a stem cell transplant, because I can't recommend this way going through.
Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Raif, Derrazi, and I am co-chair for the HOPE Collaboratory, the Community Advisory Board. And today we're sitting down with some very special people, one of whom is cured of HIV. By the way, if you hear buzzing and commotion here, that's because we are in the global village of the AIDS conference, arguably the most lively and community-led and community-driven aspect of the whole conference. Now, to start, I will introduce our esteemed panelists, starting with Angelique Hölzemer. She is a clinician, scientist in training, and currently starting her infectious disease fellowship. She has a junior group funded by the Federal Ministry of Education and Research since 2022, and her main research focus is on immune control of HIV-1 in the brain, with focus on the innate immune system, in particular, natural killer cells. She has become interested in HIV-1 research during her MD thesis, where she was at the Reagan Institute of MGH, MIT, and Harvard in Boston with Marcus Altfield, and is now located at the University Hospital Center, Hamburg in Germany.
Yes.
And,
welcome, Angelique. It's loud. Welcome, Angelique.
And moving on to Dr. Frauke Mücksch. Fraha Mooch is a virologist from Heidelberg, Germany, interested in studying HIV infection and latency. She received her BSc in biology and her MSc in biomedicine from the University of Marburg. During her PhD studies at the University of Heidelberg, she investigated HIV-1 assembly and the role of lipids in this process. She then joined the laboratory of Paul Binoche at the Rockefeller University, New York, to work on HIV Cure with a particular interest in the molecular mechanisms underlying HIV latency. In addition to her work on HIV latency, she co-led several COVID-19 research efforts at Rockefeller University investigating immune responses to SARS-CoV-2 infection and vaccination. In 2022, she rejoined the University of Heidelberg as an independent Scholar research group leader at the Center for Integrative Infectious Disease Research, where her group studies the mechanisms underlying the establishment, reversal, and maintenance of HIV-1 latency and persistence. Frauke Mücksch is a co-PI in the MDC called REACH and member for the German Center for Infection Research, TTU HIV. And finally, Marc Frana, the 55-year-old electrical engineering graduate. Marc Frana has also been known as the Dusseldorf patient since 2023 or 2021 while he was not publicly visible. Marc found out in January 2008 that he was living with HIV. Then in January 2011, Marc was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia or AML. The AML was treated with standard chemotherapy at Dusseldorf University Hospital in 2011. Marc suffered a relapse of AML at the end of 2012. He could only be saved by a stem cell transplant. A donor with the CCR5 delta 32 homozygous mutation was specifically sought to repeat the case of the Berlin patient, Timothy Ray Brown. The stem cell transplant took place on Valentine's Day 2013. This makes Marc the longest living person to be cured of HIV after a stem cell transplant. However, Marc's HIV medication could only be discontinued at the end of 2018 due to numerous complications. In February 2023, his team of doctors led by PD Dr. Bjorn Erik Ole Jensen published the report in Nature Medicine. This makes Marc's case the best documented case of a patient cured of HIV. Another unique feature of Marc's case is that he is the only one of the cured patients who knows his stem cell donor, Anna Praus, personally. And she will be here tomorrow. Fantastic.
Yes.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us. This is such a treat, such a pleasure, and this is going to be so inspiring for our audience as well. But before we get to you, I will have Alicia introduce herself.
Okay. Hi guys, I'm projecting so you can hear me. So I'm Alicia Trammell McIntyre, and I am the co-chair along with Raif here for HOPE. I'm from Miami, Florida, and I'm in Germany. Woo! Yes. And that's it for me. We'll get more in me as we move along. Raif?
And now you're going to ask.
Oh, So now we get into the meat and potatoes. Ready, guys? So, no particular order. Whoever wants to answer question number 1. What is DZIF?
So DZIF is the German Center for Infection Research. The mission of DZIF is to bring together clinicians, basic science industry partners, government agencies to, as we call it, close the translational gap. So we have a really strong basic research community in Germany, and we have like the clinical trials, but in between there's like a translational gap where we kind of where we need to get more from bench to bedside treatments for a variety of infectious diseases. And then, so DZIF has like 9 different focus areas, and one of them is the translational unit for HIV, where we all belong to. And the mission of the DZIF HIV TTU is to work towards HIV remission and HIV cure. So that's, in a nutshell, what DZIF is about.
Sounds exciting. Anything you want to ask, Franke? Or Mark?
Well, Frauke just asked me, what's your rule at DZIF? And I said, well, I'm in the Patients Advisory Board for HIV, but I don't know my rule exactly because it was just funded last month and we met once. Some people introduced us and we have to find our rule, but I think we are happy to support DZIF from the patient's point of view.
Yeah, so there are these efforts now to basically build a CAP, have community engagement, and so we are really grateful that you're participating in this.
Yes, Mark
to
is
really
everything.
Engage the community more, because especially with these translational aspects, it's absolutely key that we have community representation and learn from the community.
Well, that's exactly what we do here at Hope. We're the community, and thank you for getting on board that train. So the next question is, what kind of community engagement do you or DZIF participate in?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with the community advisory board now that has now that we started developing that. There are other activities that we have, for example, scientific outreach events that are targeted at the public. So we've done one of these, for example, in Heidelberg for World AIDS Day last year. We're going to do this every year now, and this is sponsored by DZIF, where we interact with the community in front of the public, engage the community. So we work together very closely with the local advocate group. It's German DZIF, it's called, and they basically brought us in touch with people from the community, people living with HIV. So we had a big panel discussion with scientists, with people from the community, and that was really a great experience. That also students working in our department projected back to us that they found this really enriching, and also to learn what the community needs, what they want, and not be isolated with our basic science pipetting and losing the bigger picture maybe sometimes. Yeah.
That's wonderful, because by doing that, what is the work for? The community, right?
Exactly.
And engaging with the community is how you
Exactly.
merge. Exactly.
That's why we work on HIV, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And MIPA is always needed, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
But that's why we actually were really interested to, since you two, Raif and Alicia, are on the Community Advisory Board of Hope, for us it would be actually really interesting to know, kind of how does Hope engage with the community, what are their activities, so...
Start. So we have community engagement events that we put on at our annual meeting, for example, at the Hope annual meeting, as well as the Martin Delaney Collaboratory. When all 10 of us meet together, we'll put on a community event. We make a concerted effort to really engage the community where the event's going to be held, and have them have some leadership in designing the event in things that would be interesting to their community, because they know best. And then we also put our input in. So it's more of a partnership rather than us coming in saying, here's an event that we put together for you. rather what would you like to see, and then hopefully within that we can teach and have a dialogue between community and the science community, and as community advisory board members, we hope to help translate between community and science so that we can make that connection better. And in the end, the goal is to foster trust so that when treatment does come to market, when a cure does come, the community is ready for it.
I wanted to add that I was invited to the HOPE annual meeting last year in San Francisco, and this is a great event. I would love to have such an event in Germany. Well, I had to do a flash mob with all the people, but it was really heartwarming to get in touch with the community and with the doctors and scientists, and I hope that I had a talk at the dinner, and I hope that showing my story and telling it encouraged the scientists to work harder on finding a cure, and that someone finds the right puzzle piece.
Well, thank you for that, guys. And what Raif was talking about, so we did an event in Miami, and I'm community, and Miami is my hometown, so I helped to plan that event, and it was phenomenal. We had music, entertainment, researchers from Miami partnered with HOPE, and it was just a great event, community-driven event, meaningful involvement with people with AIDS, language matters, and all that. So that was, you guys need the blueprint for that? We got you. Yes. Really, so my next question, my third and final question would be, nope, it's going to you, Raif.
Okay. I'll do it on here.
Okay, yes.
So my question would be, are investigators engaging with community members to ensure that scientific terminology is stigma-free and explore improving as we go?
So I think that we all really rely very much on the input that we get from community members in the form of, for example, guidelines of how to use language. And this is really incredibly valuable resource. Basically, we just discussed about it, that we go to the IAS homepage, we check the link to, for example, the People First Charter, and then we have the table and we can look at this. And I think this is really what's needed. And I think the community does an amazing job at delivering these things to us for free, basically, right? I mean, we don't, yeah. So I think this is amazing. We really grateful for that. And I think also conferences like this one and a few others that really put effort into making it clear from the very start that this is the language to be used and this is what is not to be used is incredibly important, because especially when you come from basic science. So I do a lot of my work with cell lines, for example, not with study participants. So for us, it's very normal to say infected cells, and that is fine. It's not a person. Yes. But we very easily translate this to people, and we should not. So this is really needed, and I think sometimes eye-opening then once you read why. And I think it's embedded really well. I think it helps that community is also active to really correct people. Yes. I've seen this at conferences and talks, and I think this is really what you sometimes need to be like, oh, there is something, I should check this, and then look at these guidelines. And I think this is what's being done.
Yes, so, and I want to emphasize what Frauke said, because like when I started as a medical student and I was writing, and obviously you're in the hospital, so everybody there's a patient, so you don't really think about calling someone an HIV patient or something. But then you go into the scientific field, and obviously words matter, so what we write down in our scientific communications is important. And then you get like this perfect table from like the People First Charter, and then it just says like, okay, this is the terminology to be used, and like not the other one, and it's extremely helpful, because it's otherwise it's like just very difficult to know also what is like important.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I feel like.
Do you want to say something, Marc?
Oh, when I was preparing for this talk, I thought, well, let's look up what's in German with People First Charter, and I didn't find something. I found the things from the IRS. So perhaps I can help and we can work together to translate it into German, because it's very important to talk about which words should be used and which not. Yesterday I was on German TV and I was introduced as a former AIDS patient, and it's totally untrue, and I was so unhappy, and perhaps the media will invite me to talk about the People First Carter on TV. I hope so. And it's only little things with these words, but they mean so much. I'm a technical writer, so I knew what it's very important to use the right words. In German, we have gendern, to use the right word to say it's a man or a woman. And if people don't care about it, you can't change anything. And it's very important to use the right words.
Thank you for that, Mark. So here's the thing. The safe way to go is know that people first language. Like instead of saying HIV positive person, it's person living with HIV. Or do never, never, never refer to a person as infected. They either acquired it, contracted it, or it's another word, I can't think of it, but people first language is the safest way to go. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yes.
And then I checked my presentation for yesterday, and I found a bad word. I had unprotected sex in it, and now I knew that it's condomless sex. Well, it's easy to change the word, and it's so much, the difference between the words is so much you can't think about it, but we have to think about the words.
But Alicia, I actually have a question here for you, since we're discussing. So what we often use in scientific papers is because we have the HIV zero negative control group and then HIV zero positive control group. So always that doesn't really confirm with the people first language. So would you then suggest saying people living with HIV and people living without HIV, which makes it quite longer and more complicated? So I don't know how you feel about, because I think what I read is that HIV positive individual, that's fine to use for scientific research papers, but I don't know how you guys feel about that.
So I actually recently had a interview. It's not finished yet. I haven't posted it, but it will be soon. And I posed this question to two representatives from the Division of AIDS in the U.S. They helped to formulate the HIV language document, the official document by NIAID. And I said, sometimes there's a concern that it will be too complicated or too wordy. And the response was, it's not that hard.
Exactly.
A few words, okay.
Exactly.
It's. I think it's more of a psychological adjustment, and also it should be noted that the HIV language guide is a guide. It's not mandatory, and so I think, especially the scientific community, it's at your discretion when it makes sense, based on the context.
Yes.
So being mindful of that and having the right intention, I think at the end of the day, is how you succeed.
Next question.
Okay. I'll ask you another question. So my next question would be, with advancements in the cure coming out, do you think the end of HIV will be met with acceptance or resistance, noting the recent COVID pandemic and how there was so much resistance to vaccine?
I think actually we wanted to give that question to you or to Alicia.
That's a great question.
What you said before about trust, I think this is essential here. And I think if we are unsuccessful in building this trust, then there will be resistance. Because if it's all untransparent and then dictated from I think this morning you called it your ivory desk or something, right? Ivory towers, and then it comes down why would there not be resistance? I think we have to build the trust, and we have to be able to like communicate science in an accessible way for everyone, which is incredibly difficult. I struggle with that myself, for sure. And I think there will always be hesitancy towards new like techniques. So, for example, the mRNA vaccines. I think here now, because of the COVID vaccines, we have an advantage because they've been now administered to so many people. I think people get a bit more open towards them. I think there will always be resistance because it is scary if something new is out there, right?
Yes.
But maybe you wanted to say something about the general.
I mean, I think also with the HIV cure, it's a very personal choice in the end, right? Because it's like so it's not with COVID where like certain vaccines were mandatory to go to places or something. It shouldn't be like this. So so I think that because there are like effective antiretroviral treatments, so cure we just need to make sure that HIV cures also and remains a personal choice, I think.
Fair enough.
Well, I think the big difference to COVID is that COVID came over the air and HIV don't comes over the air. So I think this is the big difference. So I hope that if an HIV cure comes, everyone thinks it protects you.
And I also think it's totally fine if a person living with HIV says, I don't want to go down that way. I want to keep on taking my medication. And I'm sure there will be people who will go that way, and it's completely fine. I mean, from my perspective.
But actually with these questions, we also really wanted to hear your thoughts on this, Raif and you.
So, actually, we talked about it. So, like you said, with something being new, there's going to be resistance. Plus, think about this. I've been living with HIV for 28 years, right? COVID came out, 2020, they had a vaccine, 2021, 2022. Not everybody ran to take it, right? Because nobody wants to be the first. Because the first one, it's always, okay, it came out this month, next month, they grew another ear or something, you know? Who wants to be the first in a part of that? That was just my take on, that's not going to happen. Nobody's going to grow an ear from a cure. No. But just to say, the person's mindset and how their mental capacity is to accept, that plays a big role too. Also, in my community, mistrust is not a myth, it's a reality. So that's a lot to be considered as well. Go ahead, Raif.
Yeah, I'll just add that in building trust, part of that is visibility and role modeling. So what does that mean? Like I said earlier about scientists being in their ivory tower with their white lab coats, maybe like twirling their mustache, trying to figure out how they're going to profit off of the masses. Seeing you folks here in person with us, vulnerable, asking questions, answering questions, I think that's important because then people see you as real human beings, three-dimensional with your own lives and your passion for the work that you do. And so continuing to have that dialogue with people is how we build the trust so that when the cure comes, then they think of Frauke or they think of Angelique offering the cure and not some villain from a movie.
And it's vice versa, because now that you're working, you're thinking about me or Raif when you're at work. You know, I'm doing this for them. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Exactly. So, last but not least, the last question is, and it's for all of you, what makes you smile when you learn about cure research? This is a fun one. Should be a fun one, right?
I mean, I think two things make me smile about HIV cure research. So first, I mean, we have seen with COVID like how the scientific response worldwide was really reunited. But I think in the HIV field, we already have felt that long before, because it's really like groups from all over the world, like on like different levels, preventive, really on all levels, kind of working together towards the same goal. So I think that really makes me happy, and it's like also very inclusive, like HIV cure. And then also, I mean, I'm a medical doctor. I had to give a lot of first HIV diagnosis talks, and I think I try to be positive because obviously like there's great treatments, but then telling someone, okay, this is actually what we're doing for HIV Cure is also really like fulfilling. And at some point, hopefully, I can say, okay, you tested positive, but now we can do this and this about it.
And you've been smiling since you've been up here, so.
I also smile a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think we've already come a far way, from where it started. And that's amazing. There's so much still to do, but I think there are these successes on the way. For example, you.
Yes.
And I think seeing this really, makes me smile. And seeing also how everyone comes together, what Angelique said, I think the community is really strong in our field, and we can be very grateful for that. And seeing the activists, for example, like we have one right here.
Exciting.
I mean, this is very cool. And I think colleagues in other fields in infectious disease research, they don't all have that. I think this is pretty unique, and being able to see why we do what we do and for whom, that's very motivating and gives a lot of energy, I think.
It is a lot of energy. Absolutely.
Well, I'm thrilled about the new Berlin patient who will be announced tomorrow, or Berlin 2. And if you look to all the cured patients, now we are 7. In each case, there's a little difference, and I hope that the scientists put the puzzle pieces together to find the right way to make the cure happen for everyone without a stem cell transplant, because I can't recommend this way going through. It is a very rocky road, and you only can go through it if you get leukemia too, and I can't recommend a stem cell transplant if you're not having leukemia. So I hope that the scientists come together in conferences like this and share their data to that we can have a cure in the near future.
Awesome. So, Raif, why don't you answer the question and then I'll answer it. The question is, what makes you smile when you learn about cure research?
What makes me smile? I think learning the potential that there is, not just in the science, but for myself and my own life. That was the impetus for my whole journey is, okay, I've been diagnosed with AIDS in 2012, so I thought I was going to be dead in 2 years, but now I know I can live a full life. So what does that mean? What are my goals and aspirations? And learning about, it's like this fight between comorbidities and then my goals and aspirations, and how science is evolving and changing, and how my answer to that question is evolving and changing, and seeing the progress is really exciting. So, and I love learning the science personally, and I think I can communicate that love to community, who normally we tend to discount as it's too difficult for them to learn. But I think that's not necessarily the case. If we take the time to translate the science into an understandable way, they can learn enough to feel empowered themselves. So that makes me excited.
So what makes me excited, can you guys hear me? Am I good? Is the fact that it can happen in my lifetime. I was diagnosed in 2000. It's 2024. In my lifetime, there will be a cure, and I will be alive to see it, living, thriving with HIV, to see a cure come along versus me dying like everyone way back when, 45 years ago. So that is what makes me smile when I hear about cure talks.
Anything you want to say before I wrap?
Nope.
Well, thank you all so much for joining.
Yes,
Thanks
yes.
for those of you on the other side of the lens. A huge thank you to DZIF for helping to make this possible here. Also, a thank you to the HOPE PIs and the other MDCs who all contributed and rallied together so that we could create this zone in the Global Village. It's really exciting. We've had so much feedback. I can't wait to share all the input that we've had from people who visited the booth here as well. And to those of you at home, stay tuned. We have a lot more great content coming for you soon. Cheers.